Okay, cool. Let's start today. Let's start lying down um, with the feet flat on the floor and the knees pointed up towards the ceiling. And we won't be here too long, I don't think, but I want to start here and then we'll return here later, of course. But I'd like for you to just start by setting up this shape. And find a place to put your hands that feels comfy and supportive. And it might be a nice idea to bring them by your sides with a little space between your body and your hands. Or maybe you choose to rest your hands somewhere on your body. And allow your feet and your hands to become heavy. So maybe let's start with the hands. You can just let the bones of your hands relax onto whatever surface that they're on. And feel your feet becoming heavy. So feel your footprints actually actively pressing into the floor. And you should have, everyone looks good, but you have a little space between your feet and some space between your knees. And you might be able to feel some space between the soles of your feet on the floor, on the arch parts of the feet. You might feel the feet lifting away from the floor. And start to feel the back of the pelvis on the floor. We talked about the pelvis a lot last week. I'm sure we'll talk some more about it today. You feel it just resting there like a big bowl, like a big plate. And then bring a hand underneath your collarbones and then another hand to your lower abdomen and let your elbows relax on the floor. Let your shoulders relax on the floor. And as you breathe in through the nose, feel your upper hand, that is the hand on your chest, rising towards your face as your collarbones sort of lift. And as you exhale, feel your lower hand, the hand on your belly, start to relax as your belly relaxes. So you're just noticing and maybe highlighting these movements of the breath. As you inhale, there's an expansion through the ribs. That top hand moves up slightly or maybe out. Maybe it feels more like an outward movement. And then as you exhale, you feel your lower hand relaxing as your belly relaxes down towards the back. And continue with this kind of just noticing the breath and noticing that with each breath in, you feel this expansion. But notice how there's no grabbing around the shoulders or grabbing around the abdomen. It's like finding this sweet spot between like pushing the abdomen up and out to fill up with breath versus being just gently inflated. And over time, it might feel like your top hand is sort of growing away from your bottom hand, or that your chest somehow stays a little bit puffed up. Relax the space between the shoulder blades. Relax the shoulder blades and the elbows on the floor. Feel the crown of your head stretching away from the base of the spine. And whenever these cues or these instructions become like something you're paying a ton of attention to, and it starts to cause some kind of tension, you can step back a little bit. Sometimes asana cues are less like instructions and more like kind of like hints. It's like, can you notice this? Do you notice this? If so, really notice that. If not, don't worry so much about it. If it's not apparent yet, don't worry so much about it. Let's try this one. We tried this, or we practiced with this a little bit last week. Noticing your pelvis and feeling the pubic bone at the front of the pelvis. And if you want to, and if it's comfortable, you can actually bring your fingers tips to your pubic bone. It's rather far down. It's this bony part at the front of the pelvis, like right in the center. And you might keep one hand up on your chest, and now just you're softly resting your hand on your pubic bone. And notice this distance, this vast distance. Relaxing your elbows as much as you can to the floor. Yeah. And now we'll just invite the big toes to be part of this whole experience. So feel as you breathe this lifting of the collarbones away from the pubic bone, but also away from the big toes. The way that the big toes feel connected to the pelvis, the soles of the feet feel connected to the pelvis. Notice now your tailbone. You can just bring your hand back to your belly. Notice your tailbone. If you can find it in your awareness, find it. It's there at the back of the pelvis at the base of the sacrum. And just notice your tailbone. And as you breathe out and you feel your lower hand, your lower belly releasing down towards the ground, just notice your tailbone as you do so. It's almost as if each time you exhale, the belly moves towards the spine and the tailbone, the pubic bone, everything in the pelvis descends even more, relaxes down even more. You can let any sort of specific observations go and just notice whatever this whole experience is for you. Or there might be a curiosity that you are like, that's kind of cool to notice. I'll keep noticing that. Now we'll just roll over to one side and use your hands to press yourself up to sitting, taking your time. And maybe bringing your hands back to the collarbones and to the lower belly, letting your elbows be nice and easy. Breathing in through the nose, feeling the sternum slightly lift, the ribs expand, everything lift. And as you exhale, feel your belly moving towards your spine, just gently. Different orientation to gravity. Notice what it feels like. And now imagine you still had the support of the floor behind your shoulder blades, behind the back of the pelvis. What would it be like to be able to rest back as you're sitting tall? Begin to just breathe through the skin. I love this because it invites us to kind of feel the breath on all sides. So imagine that you're breathing through all of the skin. You might find some of those places come to life. Some part of the hips or the pelvis or the space between the shoulder blades. Anywhere that feels kind of crunchy or sleepy or unaware, you can just give it more pores, let it breathe, rather than adjusting or stretching into those places. Just see what you can do with this image, breathing through the skin. And just notice that you are here. And then notice what that is, what that's like. It might feel really just sweet to be this size and shape. Maybe a sense of kind of easy sweetness. And let's just chant to that effortless openness. So we'll chant Om. You might bring your hands together at heart center or rest your hands on your body somewhere. So let's chant. Maybe breathing in through all of the pores of the skin. Great. And let's come to fours. And continue as you're moving positions, as you're changing shapes. Wes, did your church say all presence is God's presence? Hell yeah. I was trying to read it. As you're moving, you can feel that as you're moving, as you're changing shape, just notice this space around you. It's so sweet. I wanted to feel into that today. So that's a great shirt for today. So as you're starting to move through cat and cow, notice this space that you're opening up into as you inhale. And then the space behind you that you are opening up into as you exhale into into cat pose. Just continue in this way, kind of releasing that sense of pushing or stretching and feeling instead that the space behind you, like closer to the ceiling, is like calling to you. The space in front of you is like, come on in. The water's fine. You're kind of releasing, relaxing into that space in front of you and behind you. It doesn't have to be a big movement, but it could be. And then you can tuck your toes underneath you and send your hips up towards the ceiling for downward facing dog. The knees bent, pressing down and forward with the hands. Yeah, or child's pose. And just feeling the knees bend, feeling yourself supported by the hands and the feet. Nice. And then walking your feet towards your hands, we're going to come to a standing position. So eventually we'll get there. But first, you might walk your feet towards your hands, hang out there for a moment, feeling your feet on the floor. Yeah. And then you can inhale to come halfway up, maybe exhaling to fold once again. Inhale to come all the way up. And then just standing, coming to standing. And if you want, you could bring your hands to your pelvis, to the, well, actually, I have this awesome book. Someone got it for me. It's called The Concise Human Body. I think it was like Shade, kind of, because they were like, since you just like to research random shit all day, here's a book where you can just quickly research random shit. But this is the pelvis. So where you're putting your hands, you probably know this, but it's cool to see a picture. Putting your hands on those. Oh, weird. That's in you. That's the pubic bone. The front. Those are the crests. And this stuff is all very deep inside. That's towards the back. So you're feeling your iliac crests, and then just feel into your feet. Relax your shoulders, relax your elbows. I love this book. Look at this. It's a rib cage. You can feel that that's there. See, there's your diaphragm that moves up and down as you breathe. There's your ribs that go all the way up, super duper high. There's your neck, comes up right there. So maybe you bring your hands up onto your ribs, and then you can just kind of feel, you walk your hands kind of far up. You can feel your ribs there. Relax your shoulders, relax your elbows. Feel how your ribs move kind of out with each breath. And feel into your feet. Even as you're feeling your ribs kind of moving in and out, feel your feet on the floor. Then you'll inhale and float your arms up like you're just adding this movement to the movement of the ribs. The ribs are inhaling and you're lifting the arms up, maybe through the sides, maybe through the front. And then feel your belly move towards your spine and fold all the way down. Could come down onto the surface of the bed or like a table or something if you want. Or all the way down. Uttanasana. Good. Knees are bent. Feel your feet on the floor. Inhale, come halfway up. And then exhale to fold the rest of the way down. Good. And then one by one, just step your feet back to a high plank. Or a tabletop is nice too. Just feeling this distance now in plank from the chest to the front of the pelvis. Feel all that space. And then from the top backs of the shoulders to the tailbone, all that space. Exhale to lower down, maybe knees first, coming all the way down. Yeah. And just coming to lay on your belly. Is that okay, Wes? Is that allowed? I trust you. Okay. Just lay on your belly. And feel here, you could make a pillow for your forehead. You could just bring your hands underneath your forehead, or you could just face plant. Either way, one is a little more comfortable than the other. And you're just in downward facing Shavasana, aka face plant on the ground. And feel as you're breathing, your belly kind of moving against the floor. But also notice your back body is now the part that's sort of lifting away from the floor as you breathe. Isn't that weird and cool and fun? Feel your ribs, your back. You can imagine that there's someone has a hand on your back, or This is really nice to do with another person. You can kind of feel their ribs moving. And then bring your hands alongside your chest. You'll reach your elbows back and press into the tops of the feet. You'll inhale into Bhujangasana, Cobra. Inhaling, feeling again that distance expand from chest to the front of the pubic bone. See if you can release your shoulders down away from your ears. Yeah, tuck your chin in. Yeah. Ooh, so nice. And then press into your hands and your feet to come back to downward facing dog. Good. Nice. And then walk your feet towards your hands. Inhale to come halfway up, feeling your feet on the floor. As you come halfway up, feel that space between the chest and the pubic bone. Exhale to fold, releasing it all, letting the head and neck go. Then inhale to come all the way up. And feeling all of this growing out of the soles of your feet as you come up. And then exhale to just float your arms down through the space. We'll do that sequence again, or you'll find somewhere along the way that you just want to stay for a while. That's great too. Or you want to skip some part, and that's great too. But you'll go through this Surya Namaskar sequence, but spend a moment after you lower down, instead of going right into Cobra, take a moment to take a breath on your front, if you like that. Okay, so on your own pace and your own time and your own like freestyle of this sequence, however you want to do it. But imagine and feel into all the space around you. Feel as if it's already yours to inhabit. As the arms float up, that pathway is already there. As you're moving your arms down, you're folding down into that space. That space is like calling to you, and you can just easily fold into that space. That plank already exists. You're just stepping into a shape that's already there. And spend a breath or two, or however many, just lying on your front and feeling all of the space behind you. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Good. Then as you're coming up, remember you standing. You standing is already, it already exists. That space is yours to just kind of float into. You lower your arms down through a path that's already been carved out. And just notice whatever you notice. Once you return to standing, just notice what you notice. And feel into your feet there on the floor. Now we'll go through one more time, but with a different quality. And I just like to, this is just like to play and see what a different image or a different kind of quality does to your movement. So now the air around you is going to get a little more thick, and it's going to be more like you're in water. So if you know like being in a pool and you like when you're like in the shallow end and you're running through a pool, there's more resistance, but there's still like this kind of graceful feeling. It's not like when you're running in the ocean, it's like awkwardly chopped up at the shins and you like can't really run. It's like you're all the way submerged in the water and you're like doing some kind of awesome synchronized swimming or something like that. So you'll move through once again. Again, if there's just one pose you want to take or you want to pause along the way, that's great. Notice your feeling of having to move through some resistance. But the resistant thing is water. So it's still movable, it's still graceful, it's still kind of holding you in a sense. And still maybe taking a breath, laying down on your front, and just feeling what that feels like. That gentle kind of pressure around you of the water. Yeah. Hi. Even to the very last, when you're floating your arms down through, you can feel all that water moving on all sides as you release the hands back down to your sides. And then you're standing surrounded by water, a substance that's all around you. So feel its presence and the way that it gently sort of holds you there in a standing position, upright. Feel how you can rest kind of back into your heels, into the space behind you, how you can expand and rest a little forward and side to side. You can feel this all around you. Nice. All right. You can keep that or you can let it go. Just something maybe kind of fun. So float the arms up, maybe moving through air or through water. You'll exhale to fold all the way down. Yep. And now just step the left foot back and lower the left knee down. So you're coming to a lunge with the right foot forward. And you can come upright and bring a hand to your collarbones and a hand to your lower belly. Just feel this upright shape. And without pushing the chest up or forward or creating a back bendy shape, just feel how the breath is moving here and how this inhalation is gently opening the chest forward. And you can choose how much you want to bend into that front knee. You could really bend into it and kind of enjoy the opening of the hip flexor of the back foot or back leg. And then from the breath, let this develop into some pose. You could bring your palms together. You could express through your hands however you want. Interlace the palms or the fingers behind you. And feel now sternum, this long line from the breastbone all the way down through the front body, through the front of the hip, that part that's feeling kind of stretched, all the way to your back toe, your back big toe, the top of your back foot, or your tucked back foot on the ground. All of that connectivity. One more breath here, just feeling into that. Yeah. And then as you exhale, you can bring your hand down to frame your front foot, and you can come up onto the heel of that front foot. So flex your toes towards your face, sink your hips back towards your back foot. Yes, yes. So you're coming to Ardha Hanumanasana, feeling through the back. Now the heel back through the back of the leg, through the side back body, all the way through the back of the neck and head. Yeah. So your right hip is moving, especially your right hip moving back in space. And then inhale to just come forward once again, stretching into Anjaneyasana, expressing through a nice open chest, hands however you want them to be. And then with one long exhalation, you can bring your hands down, step your front foot back, come back to downward facing dog. Whoosh, all the way back. Beautiful. Nice. And step your left foot forward. And you can kind of scoot it. Lower your back knee down. And come up into Anjaneyasana, low crescent lunge, with your hands on your belly and your chest. And first, just feeling the sense of just allowing the front body to open as much as it will. Allowing the front body to start to open as the breath starts to open. We're letting the breath lead the movement. Feel how with each breath, the breastbone and the pubic bone get further away from each other. And the front of the hip and for the back leg especially can start to elongate. And then you can express all of that, all that's already going on, by bringing your arms alongside your ears, or reaching out with your elbows, or interlacing your fingers behind. Some expression of this crescent shape, which happens from the front of your chest through your whole front body all the way to your back foot. Let your back foot be a part of that crescent shape. Mm-hmm. Good. And then as you exhale, you can bring your hands to frame your front foot, turn your toes up, flexing your toes towards your face, bringing especially your left hip back in space, just enjoying any kind of sensation through the back, side, hip, waist, back, wherever it is. Good. Actively flexing your toes back. Good. And then inhale to come back once again to that crescent lunge. Expressing your through your arms, however. And then with one long exhalation, you'll bring your hands to the floor and step your front foot back to meet your back foot. Use the exhalation to move you back. Good. Nice. And then lower your knees to the floor. Just coming into Balasana, child's pose for a moment. Resting your front body onto your thighs. Feeling the back body open, the space between the shoulder blades open. Good. Good. And then you'll come up to seated. And sit with your legs out in front of you. You can bend your knees. That might be really nice. You might also sit up on something. Either or both of those things is really good. And notice if already with sitting upright, there's kind of like a tucking of the pelvis and a kind of collapsing. See if you can maintain this sense of opening into the space in front of you and the space behind you at the same time. Yeah, nice and easy. Good. And then you will, okay, I want to do Janu Sirsasana. I know we do it all the time, but it's just so good. It's just so good. So you'll have one foot out, one foot out long, the other foot in towards your thigh, yeah? And you're turning towards your extended leg. My foot blends completely into the color of my foot. I was just looking for my foot and I couldn't see it on the screen. Okay, the foot is right here and it's flexed. And you're turned towards those extended toes. And you'll inhale to reach the arms up, facing everything towards that long leg. And then exhaling, just gently coming into the pose. Really, 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 really chill. Diagonal, just very, very mellow. Hands come on either side of the leg. Chin is tucked. Inhale here, just feel your chest lift a little bit away from your leg. Exhale, fold a little bit more towards your leg. Then inhale to reach forward. As you're reaching forward, your spine becomes long. Your arms come alongside your ears and you pick your torso up on the way. Yes. Good. Exhale, float the arms down. So again, you're inhaling to open up the chest, elongate the spine. And then not caring at all how far you come down, you'll come down to an easy forward bend. Inhale here, just feeling the space, the ribs open. Exhale, come into the pose. And this time we'll stay for our breath. Inhale, reach your arms forward. Wait till they come in line with your ears, then pick the rest of you up. Yeah. And then exhale, float the arms down. We'll come one more time, and this time we'll stay in it 2 or 3 or however many breaths. So you'll inhale, float the arms up. Exhale, come into an easy version of this. No worries. Diagonal line. Inhale. Feel the space, 360, space in the ribs. Exhale to fold a little bit more into the shape. And then stay there a couple of breaths. As you inhale, you feel the space in the chest and the ribs. As you exhale, there might even be a sense of the pelvis moving back as you go a little more forward. Yes. Yeah. And then when it's time to come up, you'll reach the arms forward to come up. And exhale to float the arms down. We're working in the muscles around the lower abdomen, and like you might feel like kind of the side, back, QL, back, butt, side. Just notice whatever you kind of notice here, and then we'll change legs. And we're doing this really gently. I had a teacher who was like, She was like, there's no reason to like force something to release. It's just gonna like freak you out, and there's just no reason. So it's very, very nice to kind of, especially in these muscles that are their job is to register like upset and trauma and stress and all of this stuff and hold all that tension there. It's kind of rude to be like, okay, now like don't do your job anymore. These muscles in the low back and the legs are like so used to like just they're hanging on for dear life. They're hanging on for a reason. So we're like, hey, it's okay. There's breath. There's breath you can follow. And the muscles will just kind of follow as they want to. So this first, as you come into the shape on the side, really, really gentle, really gentle. Hello, noticing all the sensation. Inhaling here, just letting the breath fill in. Exhaling, coming a little bit more close to your leg. Inhale, reaching forward, letting the breath pick you up. And then exhale to slowly float the arms down. So also slow the breath down. So notice if your exhalation might feel a little longer this time. So as you fold down, just letting the breath slowly slip out of the nose. Inhale, fill up, gently lifting the chest away from the extended leg. Exhale, feel your belly move towards your spine, folding a little bit more, and stay here for a breath. Just inhaling in the shape, feeling the space between the shoulder blades invited to open up, the space around the kidneys. Exhale, feel your pelvis starting to move a little bit away from you as you move forward. Then inhale to come forward and up. Exhale to release the arms down. Last time, we'll stay in the pose for a couple of breaths, but you'll come into it the same way. Exhaling, coming down. Inhaling, just coming out of the pose a little bit. Exhale to come into the pose a little more, and then stay there for a couple of breaths. So it's gonna get it's a deeper overall experience. So the breath is the main thing, and the pose can develop from the inside out. See if you can feel this thing of the foot and the sternum moving forward in one direction and the pelvis moving in the other direction. Like you're growing a long tail that's going the other way. Especially on the exhalation is when your tail grows more. And then inhale to float the arms up. Exhale to float the arms back down slowly with your breath. Yeah, good. Now we'll just come, let's bring the legs wide just to take something symmetrical. So the legs are wide. And feel your sitting bones on the ground. You can kind of rock side to side and kind of feel them there. And flex your toes up towards the ceiling so your feet are really pressing in opposite directions. Yeah. You can point and flex your toes and notice how this rocks your pelvis. Almost like they're connected, the feet and the pelvis. You can like kind of jostle yourself side to side. Yeah. Inhale. And then exhale, come into just a nice, easy forward bend, any amount, folding forward. And feel that as you fold the chest forward, the pelvis goes back. The back of the pelvis goes back. You become someone with a long tail that is growing back behind you with each exhalation. Good. And just a couple breaths here, just to symmetricalize ourselves. Good. And then inhale to come up. And you'll make your way to lie down on your back, however you choose to get there. Yeah. And have your legs out long in Shavasana. We're going to do our old fave, the banana. Be sure that you have like enough space to at least make a floor angel, snow angel. Like you can reach your arms out to the sides. See that that's possible? Yeah. You're just in Shavasana. And from Shavasana, going to bring your left leg out to the side as far as it can go. Left side first. Yep. And feel your pelvis stays nice and sturdy on the floor, so it stays laying back like a big plate. Your spine stays long. So the hip, it's really moving from the hip. And then move your other leg, your right leg, towards it as far as it can go without making the spine get all weird. And it probably doesn't go all the way, so then you'll just scoot your left leg back towards your right leg. Yes. And just feel your back of your pelvis on the ground. It's important every step of the way to kind of just check in, checking back with the spine is nice and long. Nothing's feeling like squished. And so you can just already notice your breath here, releasing your shoulder blades to the floor. Feeling your belly moving softly away from the spine and then back down towards the spine. And then we'll add the arm really gradually. So with your right arm down by your side, your left arm can kind of be wherever. You'll just inhale, and for the duration of the inhalation, slide the back of your right hand along the floor. Elbow can bend. You'll slide it up maybe to shoulder height, and then exhale to slide it back down. Inhaling to slide the right arm away from your hip, kind of out to the side, maybe to shoulder height. And then just sliding it back down as you exhale. Begin to just kind of take up a little bit more space each breath, but just very, very gradual. Bringing really close, loving attention to this right side. That space at the side waist, the space in the side of the low belly. And you might notice a kind of sticky spot. The shoulders, like the hips, like hold a lot of shit. A lot of guarded kind of patterns and things. So just notice the spaces that feel, it might be nice to have your arm out to shoulder level or a little higher and just take a breath there and see what happens. That place that feels a little uncomfortable, not like twingy painful, but just like awkward. Just take a breath there, let your jaw go. Eventually you'll work that right arm all the way up alongside your ear if that's comfortable for you. You can become more of a crescent shape. You can slide your other arm up to meet it, maybe gradually as well, coming to hold onto your wrist. And then once you're in this shape, you can rest back into the floor. Rest the shoulder blades back. Rest the back of the head back. Notice any kind of gripping or holding and ask it to release. Just see. Just see. And we're doing the right side first because this is the right side of the abdomen that's feeling this kind of stretch right now. This is the ascending colon, right, of the digestive system. So we're stimulating the digestive system, but in a very, very, very chill way. We're just sending energy, breath, attention. Very gentle, but profound opening, just breathing into this place. There is a muscle, you probably know about it maybe, that runs from, you can picture this in your own body, from your back, your lumbar spine. You can feel into the sort of lower back on your right side. It comes forward through the abdomen, inside of the pelvic half, the iliac crest that we felt before. It comes inside of that and then runs down to connect to your inner right thigh near your pubic bone. So there's a muscle that runs from your spine through the center of all your guts, through the pelvis to your inner leg, inner upper thigh. Super deep muscle that from a lot of sitting and a lot of bummed out slouching and a lot of freaked out compressing in general. Sitting really is a big part of it, just this feeling of being shortened and being contracted. It's registering this constant state of contraction. And registering like, oh my God, there's like obviously a ton of threat because I'm like contracted all the time. Here, you're just letting it be long and just letting it be free. You're not stretching it. You're not doing anything. Feel what it's like to just be spacious. Mm-hmm. Notice any kind of grabbing or holding, and you can just notice it and just very kindly let it go. And if the mind needs something to do, you can watch the breath, you can watch the sensation. And then in your own time, when it's time, you can stay here as long as you want to. Especially if it's like there's like a point where it's like, okay, that's enough. And it's kind of nice to stay there a little longer, actually. Maybe you can let the eyebrows or the jaw or the tongue go and then stay for a few more breaths. And then you'll, in your own time, bring your arm back down to your side, slowly sweeping it through the floor, across the floor, back to your side. And slowly return your legs back to Shavasana, coming back underneath you. And then you might bring your feet back to standing and just feel your footprints on the floor. Feel the fronts of the hips nice and easy. the pelvis resting back on the floor like a big bowl, just resting for a sec. It's nice to feel the feet on the ground, especially, it's just nice. It's just nice in general to feel your footprints. Yeah, good. And then lengthen your legs back out for Shavasana. And then you'll slide your right foot as far to the side as it can go, keeping your spine and pelvis where it is. Just be sure that that's feeling really nice through the spine, really easy, like you're not tilting the pelvis or anything. And then you'll slide your other foot to meet it and then split the difference, slide your right foot back. Mm-hmm. And then feel the two halves of the pelvis resting back, the two shoulder blades resting back. Already this sense of opening into the space all along the left side. And really gradually, really slowly, sweeping your left arm up to shoulder height or almost shoulder height, slowly sliding back down. Feel how your shoulder blade is resting back on the floor as your fingertips move. Your fingertips move back, your shoulder blade slightly moves as it moves. It's all kind of connected in that way. And maybe finding on your way up an awkward spot that feels maybe the neck starts to get involved or the corners of the mouth, and then you can just stay there for a breath and see what happens. Both halves of the pelvis resting back, both shoulder blades resting back. And eventually, that left arm will come higher so that it's somewhere near the side of your head or wherever is comfortable. It doesn't really matter so much. What's most important is that the arm can relax on the floor. That it can feel like not something that you are even really doing. Another version of this is just having your arms out at a T, because this will help the shoulder blades relax to the ground or out to your sides in some capacity. The same process will be able to unfold, and it probably will work a little bit better because you won't have that extra tension in the neck or the shoulders. Be some kind of banana. Who cares? And then just letting this space in the front and the side of the left side, the descending colon on the left side, just let it receive this shape, let it receive this process. You're setting a process into motion. that will continue after that first kind of little doorway is open. This is just the opening of the door for a process to then unfold. It's kind of like in that beautiful, beautiful book. It's like I drop something, all I have to do is release the ball from my hand and it will fall. I don't have to like follow it with my hand all the way down to the floor. He says something like that in Open Mind, Open Heart. It's just that initial letting go, that initial kind of starting of the process. And then this process is just letting energy flow through the body. That's what this is. That's what this pose, that's what we're doing right now. Letting energy, attention, awareness come into this left side of the psoas muscle, the left side of the digestive tract. That energy, that awareness, that attention is already there. We don't have to go get it and put it in the left side of the body. Don't even really have to focus that much. You might find it helpful and kind of nice to just be with this body, be with that muscle. You can imagine it from the lower left side of the spine, running down through the middle of the abdomen, past the front of that ilium, that round arch of the hip, coming down to connect to the top of your left leg near the pubic bone in the inside. You might just rest in this kind of just delight of not really having to do much, but this just being with. Notice anything that's changing as you're lying there, as you're breathing. Anything that is kind of coming out of hiding, out of being compressed or suppressed. Just let all of that be there. With this kind of compassionate understanding that you're giving, you're handing the mic to this place that's really used to being silenced by like our circumstances and the way that we move. and it might have something to say. The breath might start to hold, and the other muscles might kind of jump in to try and protect. Just see if you can let the lower abdomen just be, just take up this space, take up this time. Hmm. When it feels like enough, you might just stay a couple more breaths. And then you can gently return, coming back first with the arm and then sliding the legs back underneath you. And bringing your feet back to standing, feeling your footprints really solid on the floor, feeling the structure of your legs, your pelvis on the floor. And then you could just rest here, feeling this heart opener that's already here, that's already available as just your breathing here. Notice how all the space is there in front of your chest, between your chest and the ceiling, and you can just enjoy breathing into that space. Preparation for bridge pose, just breathing in this pose. Plenty going on. If you want to, though, you could press into your feet and come up into Satupaan Sarvangasana, front body opening, a little more dramatic, a little more muscular, but keep that sense of ease and space. You're not pushing the pelvis up towards the ceiling. The ceiling is inviting the front of the pelvis to float. How about? The ceiling is inviting, how about this? The ceiling is inviting the back of the pelvis to float up towards the ceiling. That'll gently engage the glutes and the backs of the legs to protect the low back. Your tailbone will rise towards your knees will reach forward. Yeah, yeah, very nice. You can come in and out of the shape. You could stay there for a few breaths. I quite like that. The ceiling wants the back of the pelvis, and the back of the pelvis is like, okay, and brings the front of the pelvis with it. Feel your feet on the floor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very nice. Maybe some of you guys are feeling all jazzed and want to come stay in the pose for longer or shimmy onto the outer upper arms and take kind of a more intense back bend. Do whatever you feel. And then the next thing that we'll do is we'll just gently move the knees side to side with the pelvis grounded, and just take a nice little dynamic supine twist. Really easy with the breath. Yeah, yeah. Notice your breath. Notice how it is just naturally. Notice if the exhalation is maybe a little longer. That sometimes will happen. We're focusing so much on these lower abdomen twisty forward foldy movements. This is bringing us, energetically bringing us from a responsive, kind of heightened state into kind of a more receptive, restful state, nervous system wise. Just notice that long exhalation, just nice and easy. Then you can hug your knees in towards your chest. And I'll invite you now to come. Well, there's a couple things you might want to do. You might want to have legs up the wall or legs up the furniture. You want to continue lying on your back and letting the abdominal muscles release. That could be really nice to continue doing. Another option would be Shavasana, of course. And a third option would be sitting upright in some sort of cross-legged posture, sitting upright or sitting in a chair. So notice what you feel is right after this practice on this particular day. Is it time now to come to a seat and to feel the spine upright and to start to kind of integrate this into sitting? Or is it time now to kind of follow this support of the floor, resting back, exploration? What's the right move? So if you come to Shavasana, you'll just feel your heels on the floor. You'll feel your shoulder blades on the floor. If your legs are up on the wall or on the furniture, you can feel your heels just relaxing, your ankles relaxing. Yeah. Yep. You can kind of feel the weight of your leg bones falling down into the pelvis. And then if you're seated upright, you're feeling the support of the floor underneath your seat. And here in a cross-legged seat, the hips are flexed, but can you maintain this sense of space through the fronts of the hips, through the front of the pelvis? That's why sitting up on something is so helpful. You can kind of feel more into that. Just feel into this sense of presence here. If there's a lot of thoughts kind of moving around, you can notice that too. You can notice that you're noticing that, and there you are. It's very hard to get away from presence as it permeates everything all the time. I was talking to my sister and she said something so beautiful. She said, um, she's like, I just have a feeling that if I could just be present, like I would be a really good person. I think that I feel like probably everyone would be. In other words, if I could let go of all of these thought constructs, I bet my core is very good, is very pure, is very loving. I was like, I bet you're right. But I just thought that was such a beautiful intuition. Just like whether it feels like it's behind or underneath or like hiding in and around these personalities, there's that sense of like, I know what I am. I know that it's really good, very sweet, very loving, and constant. So just notice how you feel right now. You might not feel great. You might feel not great. And you may still be able to notice that container, you know? This thing that isn't a feeling, actually, that cannot be lost, that does not go away. And if you're not feeling like you're noticing it right now, it's okay. Your noticing doesn't really affect it either. So you're good. Just like you said, a process in motion earlier, the psoas is going to continue to feel what it was feeling. The digestive system is going to continue understanding what movement we did. And life will just keep on lifing. Let's let's close now. There's no rush to come to a seat. If you're already in a seat, good. That's nice. If you want to slowly make your way to a seat, you can. Or you could stay lying down. As you're coming into your seat, feel that you're filling up again. You're filling up into this seat that already was there for you. As you're sitting up tall, you're feeling your spine is long. You don't have to make it long. You don't have to push your crown of your head up towards the ceiling. You're just filling up into like this shape that was already there, right there for you. Now, when we chant this mantra to close, we're actually not going to make the sound. We're going to find it and maybe hear it and let it come through. So we'll breathe in through all of the pores of the skin. We'll bring that sound with it, that thought, and then we'll move that sound back out into the space. Okay? Let's chant. Thank you to this ancient practice and all of its teachers. And thank you all for practicing together and for being here. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace.